Chloe, thank you so much for joining me on the Teachers Podcast today.
It's very exciting to be here. Thank you, Claire.
Good. So we are at the Reading Rocks North conference. Heather has invited us both. So I'm really glad that you agreed to be on the podcast. I love having authors on because I feel like it's that extra dynamic to the podcast that teachers probably wouldn't be able to access otherwise.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're very welcome.
So the first thing I ask...
Wave into the world of teachers.
Yeah, who are listening?
Yeah. Who are
At least
listening?
to explain that you were doing it.
Yeah.
So I ask everyone to give me a backstory of like how they got into what they were doing. So do you want to tell me your life story?
My life story, yeah, sure. So I did art school first, and I was an artist, and I did printmaking, and I taught all kinds of workshops, and I made books, and I did pop-up books and all kind of things like that. And then I kind of got older, and I had my kids, and I thought, what did I actually want to do with my life? While I was looking out the window, and I thought,
Just one day looking out the window.
Yeah, I did. Sitting looking out the window. It was one of those sunny days, and I thought, when I was 10, I wanted to be a writer. That's what I really wanted to do. So I thought, right, I can do it now before it's too late. And that's what I did. And I started writing short stories and plays and sending them out, so I could win a prize to do the MA at Newcastle University. Because then you have one bursary every 2 years. So I had 2 years to send stuff out. So I did that. And then I won the prize. Hooray!
Amazing.
Yeah,
well done.
Maiden. Thank you. Didn't win it the first time. I put it in for it the first time, and they were like, oh, no, I got shortlisted. And then, spent 2 years sending stuff out. Got it second time. It's very good. And then I did my MA and thought, okay, I'm going to start writing a children's book, a young adult book, and an adult book, and I'm going to pick one of those and then I'm going to write it. So I chose the children's book, and then I won a Northern Writers Awards for it, which was Fish Boy. And they gave me some money to work on it over that summer. Worked on the book, met my agent at an agent party with New Writing North, sent the book out, and then loads of people wanted to publish it very quickly.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing, yeah.
I think it's, you sort of say it like, loads of people wanted to publish it, like it's not a big deal. But I've talked to quite a few authors now, and actually it can be really hard to get published. And the fact that a lot of publishers wanted to publish it, I think is a real testament to you. It
was amazing. And before that, actually an important step in the whole thing was I wrote to David Armand, who I thought was amazing as a writer, obviously, and a human being, but as a writer, I didn't know him as a human being then, and sent him the book, and I thought, right, I'm just going to be a bit cheeky and brave, and I'll send it to him. And he got that when he was at the airport, and he read it on his plane to Amsterdam, and he said, he just never stopped reading it, and he just read the whole thing, and he wrote me this amazing review saying, I get sent loads of books, but this is the real thing. And that was like, I came running down the stairs going, David Armand loves my book. And that was an amazing thing before we sent it to publishers. And then,
that is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
So if you, so you said you were going to write a children's book, a young adult book, and then an adult book. Did you actually write the other two books?
I thought I'd start the beginnings of them and then see which one I wanted to work on. Yeah, so I was quite into doing the young adult one. I think I love reading children's books though, so children's and young adults kind of was my thing.
Yeah, I was just thinking, have you got an adult book as well?
Well, maybe in the future, that would be cool. I'd be up for that.
Wow, thank you. So how would you describe your books then?
I think they're all so different, but I think what they have is that they're quite, the latest one's quite kind of fast-paced, quirky, original, and quite unusual, but quite beautifully written. That's a very important part of it. And somebody described them
as... When you say beautifully written, what do you mean?
I mean there's like there can be quite a lyrical, poetic quality to the writing. And in terms of content, somebody described it as magic meets modernity, and I thought that's a really lovely way to describe it.
That is nice.
Yeah, really nice.
So when you say like the quite sort of poetic, do you spend a really long time deliberating over the words, or does it just come really naturally to you?
Yeah, I think with the poetry it has to come quite naturally, so it has to flow. And if I think, thought. If I think too hard about it, then it doesn't flow through. So yeah, it kind of has to come quite instantly. That's when editing's hard, because you have to then write bits that weren't in the flow and put them in.
Yeah, I imagine. Okay, so how do you get your ideas for your writing then?
Yeah, I had a kid ask me this yesterday, and I thought, right, I'll be concise. Reading other people's books, meeting people, and travelling. That and imagining, really. Being an artist first, I always have an image in my head before I start writing a book. So I come up with that, then the words come from there, and then I know if it's gone off slightly if I come back to the image and it doesn't quite fit. That's how it works for me.
So you mentioned travelling, like where do you travel to?
Well, for the second book, The Boy Who Hit Play, I travelled to Norway. I won a prize to go travelling around for that by the amazing playwright and novelist and poet Julia Darling, who's from up here, and she died of breast cancer really sadly. So they had a travel prize in her name, so I won the first one of those.
Wow, you've won a lot of prizes.
I know, very lucky. So yeah, I went travelling off around there, and just last year I went to Peru, and that's for my third book, and that was from the Arts Council who gave me the money for that.
So you get money to go places so that then you can write books about it.
Yeah.
That is like, how do we apply for this job?
I know. How cool is that? And I kind of thought, it is brilliant. And I thought, but when you're a kid, you're so stuck, by like where you are, how much money you've got in your family. And I just wanted to really show people the world, really, and go, do you know what? Just come with me, read a book. Do you know, I'll take you. We'll be like, you don't get to choose when you're a kid, but you can through reading. And I love that.
That's amazing. I was going to ask you how you got published, but you've kind of already told me that everyone just wanted to publish it because you won a prize. And really there was no hard slog involved in terms of trying to get the publishers to, at least read your book. So that's great. Yeah. But how long ago did you get your first book published?
Well, from when they bought it to when it came out, was 2 years gap in between.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long time.
So what did you do in that time then, waiting for your book to be published?
Well, we did a lot of editing. It was a funny time actually, because we did a lot of editing, and I was quite shy. I'm a shy person, and I was quite nervous, and I kept thinking, everybody knows better than me. And then we got to the end of that process, and I did have a bit where I just actually had to be really brave and go, do you know what? We've lost a lot of what this book is, and this is not what it should be. And and then we talked about that, and how to get its kind of essence back in. Because sometimes when you work on something for a long time, that's quite hard.
Yeah, you can kind of like just lose it completely. You need to walk away, don't you, and come back later. Yeah,
so let's get a little bit of our zap back. So we did that, and that was good. And I also worked on plays, because I write plays too. So I did that.
So have you got plays published as well?
Yeah, I had plays on, like collaborations and stuff on my own. So sometimes in collaboration with musicians and different production companies.
And do those plays get performed?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Have you done any plays then sort of for children that children can perform?
Not yet. That is my next on my list. I would love to do a children's play with really cool songs in it and just really fun. Yeah.
You should do like the end of school production.
Oh yeah, like that would be good.
Productions for summer.
Yeah.
That would be brilliant.
It would be brilliant. I would love to.
And this struggle really, I think, year 6 teachers to find a good one sometimes as well.
Yeah, okay.
There you go. Right, well, come back on the podcast when you've done one of them.
Yeah, I loved being in the school play when I was little. That was like my thing. I loved that.
And every school across the country will be doing the same year 6 production. Yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
So talking about schools then, so do you spend some of your time going into schools?
Yeah, I do. So I do author visits, but because I used to do bookmaking, I also do different kind of workshops. So sometimes what schools do right now is they invite me down, I travel down and I do the school assembly in the afternoon. And then the next day I do like 3 workshops working in different classes, particularly because Fire Girl Forest Boy really fits with a lot of themes in the curriculum at the minute. So we do really cool workshops where we make pop-up books and we pretend we go on this big journey of discovery to the rainforest, and then we create museums of discovery books where we invent magical objects that we find, and then we do writing where we unleash the power of the magical objects.
See, I love that because that doesn't sound like an author visit to me. That just sounds like a lot of fun.
It is fun.
And, because you bring in the craft element as well.
Yeah.
I think that's lovely because that's kind of thing sometimes I think teachers, me in particular, when I were in teaching, I'd be like, oh, the mess. I want somebody else to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, it's just I like getting ways to make people writing where they don't really notice that they're doing it. So they're so wrapped up in it and excited about it that it just flows out of them. We're not thinking about spelling. We're not thinking about different words that we're using. We're just like really living it in the minute, and they just do some really exciting, powerful work.
Because they're worried about making the pop-up.
Yeah, and because they're inspired by that. Because when you start making something and drawing, you get different ideas, don't you? So it really helps you, you without even realising it, you kind of come up with loads of stuff that you're going to work on when you actually come to write. Yeah,
I like that idea. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what does a working week actually look like for you then?
Oh, that changes every week. Because then I have months where I try to section it out. So I'll go, this month I'll do quite a lot of school visits, and then I'll have a month where I'm doing quite a lot of writing, or I try and work it that way. And then at the minute, if I'm doing a lot of school visits that I am, then I do research. I'll try and do little bits of finding things out so it can kind of percolate a little bit before I start writing. Yeah,
so you have an idea of what on earth you're going to write about.
Yeah.
It always amazes me the amount of research that a writer has to do in order to write. Obviously I know that you've been to Peru.
Yeah.
But still, I imagine there's quite a lot of research, if you've never experienced some of the things that your characters are experiencing.
Yeah, that's true. And I take risk in making it up quite often. And then I kind of go, wow, I should check that, that's all right to have done that. So you need to kind of, sometimes you write it and then you've got to check it back.
Yeah, and do you find in the editing process some of those things might get picked up?
Yeah, you get asked questions about things like that. Sometimes it does.
How do you find the actual editing process? So obviously I've spoken to a few authors and they're like, oh, it's awful.
Yeah, I don't think anyone uses the word fun. It's not like that. It's not.
You have not heard that one.
No, it's a bit like when people talk about PhDs, nobody uses the word fun. No, it's hard because it's challenging, and sometimes it's exciting challenging because you get to write new bits that go in, and generally that's what it is for me. So I generally write quite short, and people often say, oh, we need more here and here and here and here and here. So often it's extra going in rather than cutting bits out. I'm the one often who wants to cut it out. It's not easy. It's really hard because you're not in the moment. Do you know what I mean? So you have to really get yourself back in the moment again.
Try to make it fit what came before and what goes after, I guess so.
Yeah. So it's like suddenly having to be in that place. I find that
it's all
tricky.
hard, cutting it out, putting it back in.
Yeah.
Having to do any editing at all.
Yeah, and rearranging everything and then going, but if you change that, then down the line that can't be then.
Sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, just the thought of it makes me want to throw up or something. It's just like, I just could not, I don't think, work out a way through.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
Let's say that. It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
I know. I can imagine. That's why I'm sat here interviewing you and you're not interviewing me.
The good writing teacher of mine at the university, I used to go, but it's really hard. And she'd be like, yes, Chloe, it is hard. Or everyone would be doing it.
Yes.
It's like, okay, yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, but you're obviously, you're so skilled at it now. And here we are. Okay. So you do school visits and you speak to teachers. So if there are teachers out there who have your books or they're considering getting your books, then how have they used your books in the classroom? How can they be used in the classroom?
Well, I think because they're all quite different, so probably all in different ways. So the most obvious at the moment, because it's on my mind, because this is what I'm working on right now, would be Fire Girl, Forest Boy, because it ties into
So this is your latest book?
Yeah, and that ties into all the themes of rainforest, conservation, biomes. So it's really current. Deforestation, so big environmental themes, as well as cultural, obviously, depending, if you're studying South America, somebody was telling me. So there's all different ways that can kind of tie in with those topics, and there's quite cool specific things you can do, which we can talk about later if you like.
Yeah.
All right, Fish Boy. I was just speaking to somebody this morning actually who was saying they're doing work on plastic in the ocean. I thought, oh yeah, actually it's a really good book for that, and also to do with plants and animals. The boy in it is obsessed with David Attenborough, and so there's quite a lot of facts about things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, life under the sea and extinction actually. Yeah, Authors for Oceans, all of that is quite relevant. But also it's a good one to talk about in terms of emotional things. So bullying, friendship, and trust, and talking about things, which has been good, I think, a lot for boys. I had a lot of responses from boys who said, oh, when we read this together, it just used to make me well up. Like, so talking about emotions and feelings. It's been good. The boy
Which is
who
nice to hear from boys.
Really nice to hear, yeah. So it's been really moving for them. Yeah, which is important. And that is a big theme of the book, actually saying, oh, this is what's going on. And then actually going, well, that was all right. You know, and actually that's really good. And now I feel so much better for saying it.
Yeah, it was good to get it out.
Yeah, exactly. And being different is a big theme of that. So the boy who hit play, how would you use that in school? Interesting. But I think it's about journey, it's about self-discovery. It's about who it's important to be important to. So it's really about a search for identity. So in the times of YouTube and kids thinking it's important to be popular with millions of people, this is about who it's important to be important to. So in it, he's kind of thinking, do I want millions of fans on this? Or actually, is it more important to be really close to my dad? You know, and discovering who your family is, and that can be people who are outside of your immediate family, building your own families up. Yeah. So quite
I love that. That's like really relevant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, in this day and age.
Yes, it is. So we're all a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, of who is important and who makes up who we are. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Okay. So, have any children been in touch with you then about your books?
Yeah, well, today I had the most lovely experience of meeting this amazing teacher who was telling me about a boy called Sonny, who I met on Twitter. He wrote a review of my book and he just held it up and said, this is the most amazing book ever. Like, I feel like I'm right in the middle of the rainforest with the characters. And I was really moved by that. And so I kind of wrote back to him. And she said, oh, he's a really struggles with reading. He's really dyslexic. He's never read a book before. And now he's read this and he's so excited about it. Now he wants to be a writer and he's reading Fish Boy and he doesn't ever want to put it down. And yeah, that was just the best thing ever.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And I think, because I struggle with reading still, and so I know how it kind of feels. So a lot of my chapters are broken down into short little chunks to make it kind of accessible and fun. So that worked. It worked. That was a really lovely feeling.
Yeah, you've taken what you found difficult and you've gone with it.
Yeah.
Which is really, really good. I'm just looking. Tom Palmer's literally just tweeted me now, so I'm thinking, oh, he must know you on the podcast right now. Like another author. Okay, so you told me you had children. Do your children test your books out? Do they put them through the test?
Yes, they do. They're very good, really good critics and very helpful. There's no... they don't hold back on telling you what they think, which is great because you need to know, like, you know, and it was really helpful. I read it aloud to them, and we've axed loads of bits. Even the name actually of the deforestation company at first was called Axios, and they were like, no, no way. And so we had that debate, with the publisher. But it's really helpful. It really helps me tighten up because you can really hear when they're in it and when they're not. And they're both very different readers and very different interests, so that's helpful.
Is there any like, I don't know, any bits in that book in particular that are there just because of them?
Oh, I can think of various bits we took out because they were cringy. Bits that are there because of them. I put in various bits because I thought they would be fun. I'd have to think hard. Yeah. That would be embarrassing for me to say that for them because I can think of bits, but they might not like me to say it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. How do they feel about mum being an author?
I think they're quite used to it, and I think they like it. But it's quite normal, isn't it? Whatever your mum and dad do, it's kind of like you're kind of used to that.
Yeah. What year was it that your first book was published then?
2017.
All right. So they've only had a few years at the moment of.
Yeah, 1 year so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay then. So, why should a teacher use your books in the classroom?
Okay. Well, I think. Well, let's start with Fire Girl Forest book. That's probably what's on my mind. I've been talking about it today. So it goes between. It's a dual narrative. So it goes between Maya and Raoul. So it's told by a girl and a boy. Most of my books have girls and boys in, so that's quite helpful. It's fast-paced. It's like a gripping story. It has big environmental issues, so it's very current at the moment. It's really beautifully written, but it's exotic. It's set in a really exciting place. It's got a good amount of adventure in it, and mystery, a good kind of mystery to solve. But I think people have said it's a good class reader because, it's exciting and it pulls everyone along, and you can kind of do it in short sections.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you want the children to be interested, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Especially if you're going to be reading it as a class.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to ask you some different kind of questions now.
Yeah.
So who was your favourite author as a child?
Michael Rosen. I love Michael Rosen. Funny, poetic, great, surreal, lovely guy, all round, and fun.
And you met him once?
Yeah, I did. I met him at the Edinburgh Festival and got to give him a copy of my book, which was a very big moment for me. And he gave me some prunes from his holiday in France. So that was a nice bit of share in the Edinburgh yurt. The festival.
Yeah.
It was good.
Who was your favourite teacher at school and why?
Well, I liked Mr. Elliott in art because he gave me a black art pass, which meant at lunchtimes, me and my friends could just go up and do art projects. And I really enjoyed that. And all the din ladies got really cross. And they're like, have you got a pass? And we're like, yes, we have. So, yeah, that was really nice.
Good. Who is your inspiration within education?
Teachers. The teachers that I meet. I don't know how you guys do this every day. I just find it quite astonishing. It
is amazing. Like, I don't do it now. Yeah.
It's amazing. And just when I see like the passion you have and the pride in like everyone and the time taken and the love and the care and the,
it's relentless, isn't it? It's just relentless and it takes really special people to do it and do it well as well.
I think so. It's amazing. I find it so uplifting. And I come home and I go, I'm going to try and do that in my life. I'm going to try and because when you see, and it just makes, even sitting up straight, I'm doing that, thinking about one teacher who at the start of assembly just does that. And then I'm standing on the stage going, oh yeah, I need to stand up straighter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, last question. You've kind of already answered it, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Okay.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
Yes, I did want to be a writer. Age 10, I wanted to be a writer living in the countryside with cats.
And do you live in the countryside with cats?
Yes.
Wow, how many?
I did have 3, but one died last summer, so now 2. Yeah.
What are they called?
Bob and Irek, after the Northern Lights polar bear, because he's a big white cat. And when he catches a rabbit, it gets covered in blood. So it's very authentic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the Teachers Podcast.
You're very welcome.
It's going to be a really insightful listen for the listeners. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.